only to wish CRY the best of luck. It's a fabulous new station, and it's a credit to everyone that's involved. And I suppose one group I forgot to welcome is the listeners of CRY. They're listening to us today, and lads, the studio is absolutely fantastic. It's a proud day for me to be Mayor of Youghal, to be able to come here and see your facilities. What else can I say really is that just to wish you the best of luck. 1967, I got my first Holy Communion from this class. It's a big difference than what it was in 1967. You know, it's memories still live on, and as I say, we can be proud of our local radio station, and I'd like to thank all the organisations that have been involved in it, the funders who funded the station, and of course the volunteers within the station. Without them, you wouldn't have a station. And as well as that, I'm not putting faces to programmes that I listen to on CRY, because in my shop we have CRY on all the time, and it's good to see faces now that I know the faces. You know, and one person you have there in the station is Mary Murphy, that she doesn't take no for an answer. You know, so as I said, Declan has summed it all up, and I would like to wish CRY the best of luck in the future. You have the most modern station, and I can tell you now, let's get out there and get the hits and pass 96 FM. Thank you very much.
I'd like to now call on the Mayor of County Cork, Councillor Barbara Murray, to say a few words.
I'd better say it now because I won't get to say it again. As Mayor of the County of Cork, it is indeed my pleasure to be here this morning on this, the first of a few special mornings. First of all, I'd like to acknowledge the Mayor of Youghal, he's our first citizen, fellow county councillor, fellow councillors, and all the distinguished guests that are here, mainly the funders. This is what it's all about. Community Radio Youghal is about community. And while things may be tough at the moment, it's about people working together, and this is how projects get off the ground. Community Radio Youghal is a fantastic facility for any town to have, because if you want to get the word out there on anything, be it a fundraiser, be it a festival, what's going on in Youghal Town Council, the people in Youghal have that facility, and they do enjoy it and they do appreciate it. And I know that. I go to a lot of places and they don't have, and places much more prosperous than Youghal, and they don't have that facility. So this is something very, very special. The funding, certainly, you know, you have to be nearly the king of funding to figure out what mechanisms are there to be tapped. And it's really a case of, in some cases where you might get so much funding from CCAD and then Cork County Council comes in with the 20%, or it's you know, another mechanism where Youghal Town Council comes in, and it's about everybody working together and really making the funding work. The whole thing with the Economic Development Fund in Cork County Council, it's a huge resource to have. People don't realise it's there, and it was quite by accident that when Community Radio Youghal found themselves in a situation where there was a guarantee needed, you don't look to volunteers to sign a guarantee for monies. It's not fair, it's not expected, it's not what people sign up for. This is where Cork County Council were able to step in, and that's hugely important. And this is where the Economic Development Fund really came into its own. But it's also there for new business as well, and that's what it was there for primarily. But this is a business as well, and this is something that generates economic activity, because Youghal Community Radio Youghal is an employer, and that's something that people forget. While there's a huge voluntary effort, there are also people employed. It puts money into the local economy as well. So without going on, because I know everything has been said, I wish you well for the future. This is just a new chapter for Community Radio Youghal, and it's congratulations all round, and I suppose it's watch the space where we're going to end up. Well done all round. Thank you.
Thank you, Declan, and thank you for the invitation here on behalf of the Vincent de Paul Society to CRY Youghal. Rather like Community Radio Youghal, the St Vincent de Paul Society is a voluntary organisation. We're all volunteers, backed by professional staff. I think that's very important as the way forward to drive the voluntary community effort. It's great to see the changes here in what was once a holiday home and then became almost abandoned and derelict for lack of use. It was driven forward to what it is today. To see places like, I've seen the cafe, the youth cafe next door, the youth involvement, the Neighbourhood Watch project, the Garda involvement here, it's extremely encouraging. While our main core of work in the Vincent de Paul Society is to help those in need by family visitation, we also believe in giving communities a voice, empowering them to speak for themselves. So community radio is exactly that. It's some 3 years since I broadcast last on RTE, but radio broadcasting is the theatre of the mind. Behind the microphone you paint pictures with the words you use and the sounds you use. If I said to you now there's a red boat coming into Youghal Harbour, every one of you would probably think of a different kind of red boat, but you'd have the picture that I've created in your mind. So broadcasting is an amazing treasure. It's a gift given to people, and it's tremendous that there's a voluntary effort here determined to do it. I believe passionately in the power of local community radio. One of the jobs I was once offered and turned down was as Chief Executive of Radio Kerry. And the reason I turned it down was I wanted to stay behind the microphone at the time rather than be an administrator. But I believe passionately that radio gives a voice to communities, and in the Ireland in the years ahead, that's absolutely essential. So to see these studios, to see the commitment, to have listened to it as I have on the air, I think it's a vein of development that's essential to maintain. So I'm very encouraged to hear today the amount of support given by the County Council, the local urban council, extremely important, and all the organisations supporting it. I'd like particularly, without isolating too many people, to pay tribute to Robin Triggs over there, who when I left the area presidency in Cork took on this project and drove it forward with the aid of Padraig McCarthy, in particular our regional administrator. There were many of us others involved, but the two of them never ever left us die. And it's a tribute today that we now have been able to give this part of the building over, and that Nagle House is again alive. There are many others. We don't tend to go through names too much in the society, but it would be wrong of me if I didn't mention Robin and Padraig in particular, because I know the support they gave me. So thank you, gentlemen, the two of you. Now may I wish you all community radio every success. Hope to hear it many times, and will you take over from 96 FM? I don't know, but I'm sure as hell you'll dominate your local community, and that's what matters.
That's right.
I'd like to call now on the Vice Chairperson of CCAD, JJ Hartley.
Mayor of Cork, County, Mayor of Youghal, distinguished guests, it surely gives us great pleasure to be associated with this fantastic community development here this morning. We first became involved in this project in 2007 when we gave funding for the appointment of a manager and 3 staff. And after that, I think we took one of our most important decisions was to promote a study in terms of where this fantastic organisation is going over the next 5 or 6 years. And that study established that it needed development, it needed new space, it needed new areas, and that brought about the planning of this building here today. And as we stand here, I'm sure, look at the fantastic refurbishment that has happened, and then go upstairs and see the top room, and I'm sure that brings us back the memories of this building going back to the early 1800s, the kind of effort that was put in here in the 1850s when it was a primary school, and to think of just after the famine, the poverty and the community building at that stage and the effort made to provide education, and we are all products of that system, and it just, I think it does us good to have a look at the top room to see what the kind of conditions were at that time, and maybe when that refurbishment comes around, some little few stones might be left to just remind us about where we all came from. The reforms of this building has brought about a substantial funding from ourselves, roughly €150,000. But our job, I suppose, is to promote and support individuals and communities in order to better themselves. And we have been very lucky over the last 4 or 5 years to have a little over €10 million available to do that. And about 7.5 million of that has already been invested in this area, providing jobs and support to individuals and communities. And of course, we cannot do that all by ourselves. We can only do that with the support of individuals, communities, Cork County Council, Clankreda have been mentioned here today, who have been fantastic partners with many of the projects that we have been involved in. And I suppose while I'm talking about Cork County Council, I just commend the Mayor of County Cork for the fantastic way she has borne the office of Mayor over the last number of years. So thank you very much, Mayor, for the job well done. We do our job through a number of projects. This has been funded through the Rural Development Programme, where we promote entrepreneurship and enterprise and tourism, agriculture and village renewal. And our focus has changed dramatically over the last 4 or 5 years. As you can see, 4 or 5 years ago when the Celtic Tiber, employment was not an issue. Now employment is our main issue, and we will try and promote and support anyone who has a plan to keep themselves in a job and ideally to take on another person in employment. I suppose Community Radio Youghal has a little fond memory for myself, because I did a stint every weekly about 10 years plus 10 again maybe, every Tuesday in agriculture. And I always remember we talked about agriculture, and this time of the year we would talk about silage cutting, making hay, the weather and all that kind of stuff. And we were after a general election, I think it was 1984, and the first question was, what do I think of the new government? So my thoughts had to reverse fairly quickly and come up with some kind of an answer that would be acceptable to all sides of the House in that event. And hopefully something like that might happen again in the future. Because when we talk about, we have an awful lot of talk these days about community development. But at the end of the day, we are ruining one side of community development and trying to promote the other. I mean, community development for me that time was maybe having 10 farmers, where there are one now, where there was 10 punctures of a morning, 10 bit of welding to be done, 10 health accounts to be milked, 10 milking machines to break down, and the kind of employment and support that gave. That is gone, and we cannot hold back the flow for that kind of rural development. But we need to support and sustain what we have at present. And I'm sure if that happens, the community will be better off for it. We are particularly glad to be funding this kind of a project, because this project is about communication. And if there's anything more important today than proper, unbiased communication. And we hope that this resource will be a great resource for the community and the wider community in terms of keeping up to date in news, sport, culture, youth, song, dance, world fairs, and promoting rural development. And I wish you the very best of luck. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Mayor Youghal and Mayor of County Cork and ladies and gentlemen, I'm here on behalf of Youghal Credit Union. It has always been our delight to help local community and projects, and this is no exception. I will say that we have been support of CRY over the years, and now we have an added fund given to them, and I'm delighted that we were able to do so, and hopefully in the future we will continue to support CRY and other community groups. It is hard times, but we hope to be there behind the community to back them. And once again, congratulations on such a beautiful building and project that you have finalised here, and good luck to all of you. Thank you very much indeed.
It will provide a platform for all of your community groups to get involved and to come in. And I suppose the big thing is community radio is about community, and it is the heart of the community and indeed the voice of the community. And I suppose at the end of the day it is all about community. Crail recognises Youghal as the oldest community radio station, and you know what you've achieved over the years, and certainly today, all of the hard work that was put in by your board, your volunteers, your staff, your community, and especially Declan, the manager. So we just want to congratulate everybody and say well done.
We have one final speaker, ladies and gentlemen, and before we introduce that speaker, I think maybe a group that I didn't mention and wanted to mention last is the board and the directors of CRY, and a few that have been involved over the last few years that aren't necessarily involved now, but over the last several years that have been involved. This wouldn't have happened without them, and it took a huge amount of courage, because as the people who are involved in funding this project know, it's all very well to have an idea, it's all very well to get even 75% or even 90% funding, but you have to go and find the rest, and you have to take risks. And I would like to acknowledge the huge courage that our board have shown in doing that collectively as a group of people over the last few years. And on that note, I'll introduce our chairman, Mervyn Scott.
Thank you, Declan. I realise as the last speaker I'm coming between you and your tea and coffee and refreshments, so I've got the great hardship. I'll be as quick as I can. First of all, a very warm welcome, occasionally to Foster to you all, and particularly to the Mayor of Youghal, Councillor Sammy Revans, to the Mayor of the County of Cork, Barbara Murray, to our Town and County Councillor Michelle Hennessy, and to the other members of Youghal Town Council here today, our distinguished guests, our other media representatives. Can I give you a very warm welcome too, because we don't see you as competitors, we see you as people who are working alongside with us in what we do here in Community Radio Youghal. We'd also like to give a very warm welcome to our neighbours. Everybody needs good neighbours, as the song for the programme says, and we've representatives here today from Frowega who are just lived through that door there. Jack Gain from the B&B just beside us, and I have to say I called over one day when the building work began to ask Jack could we maybe use his car park for the builders, etc. He was on his way to actually offer his car parking spaces to us. So Jack and Eileen, we want to give you a particular thanks, and maybe from time to time Jack will sneak in, particularly during the winter months, and grab a parking spot when it's raining. Also to our friends in the International College who are behind us, and also to, we do want to say a particular warm welcome to members of An Garda Síochána from our local station here this morning. Sergeant Sharkey is guarding our new equipment in Studio 1, so don't you dare try to take it home with you, Mary. You'll be arrested on the way out if you do. So thank you so much for coming today, and there will be tea and coffee and refreshments in a moment or two. First of all, this morning I would like to publicly thank my immediate predecessor, our chairperson, Mr. Tommy Collins. It was under Tommy's leadership that tentative decision that Declan spoke about was made around the board table to move forward to where we've come from here today. And today is the first time in the history of Community Radio Youghal that we have purpose-built studios, a proper meeting room, as you'll see behind you if you haven't seen it already, an office for a station manager that can fit more than 2 people in it at the one time, and it's all on a level that people can access much easier than our present occupation of the Comedina building. So it's really tremendous that we're here today, and that decision was taken around the board table, and it was taken unanimously, and those of you who served on boards know that that's quite a rare event. We all took it with a real sense of we were all scared stiff really. But what we thought was, and I think what Finn Barr, our vice chairman, said at the time around the table was, if we don't go for it, we'll spend the rest of our lives looking back and asking the question, what if? And I think today, where we are, answers that question for us all. I came into the chair in October just of last year. I took for my 2-year term as chairperson the theme, working together, we'll get the job done. Now I don't know a whole lot more than Bob the Builder about construction, and I've learned a number of new phrases over the last few months. One is the phrase PC. To me, in the 80s that meant personal computer. More recently it means politically correct, but I now know that PC stands for practical completion, and that's builder speak for the job is now done. Now Cormac Smith, wherever he is, he's hiding in there in Studio 2. Cormac, we really wish we could give your invoices a haircut in the current phrase that we use, but thank you and your team for their professional manner, for the way they work with us, and I want to say a personal thanks to Brandon, your foreman. And I have to say, in all my years of I haven't dealt with many foremen, but I've seen some of them on the job, I have to say he's one of the most nicest, decent, pleasant guy to deal with. And I know he's holidaying in Lanzarote at the moment at our expense, but you can tell him that we wish him.
He's at the little fast.
I suppose for me, it's easy to stand up here as a chairperson and it all looks good. 2 hours ago, I was actually with 75 teenagers on a farm in Castlemarket, a camp. I was in t-shirts and shorts and runners. I certainly didn't look like I do now. Maybe I don't look much better, but I'm in different guise. It's easy to swan in and in a sense the work is done. And to be honest, I suppose that's how sometimes it happens when you're in this kind of position. And I just want to say to Declan, in particular, for all the hard work he's done since he's come in to this position as manager of our radio station here in Youghal. And this really is Declan's baby in terms of what we have here today. Now, some of you don't know that Declan's wife Christina is expecting twins, and she's at the present moment in a hospital in Kilkenny, and we do wish them all the best. And while Declan has delivered this here today, we look forward to hearing the news of 2 more deliveries, all well and safe in Kilkenny. I suppose it means Declan is Kilkenny 2 and Cork 1, but that's maybe the way things normally go anyway. Declan listed all our staff earlier. I'm not going to attempt to do the same because I may miss somebody out, but I want to just ask, they're all standing, a lot of them are standing outside and have been, because I keep an eye on the kettle and the burker and all the rest. Any staff members, anybody involved in CRY, I'd like to come in just for a moment in here, please, if you will. Some of you may not know their names, some of you may have heard them on the radio, some of you may know of them, but I'd like to invite them all to come in for a moment, please.
And will you stand over back there behind, but by Yvonne? Yeah. And Dara, will you come over so that I can see everybody? Thanks. And will you just, yeah, that's great. No, don't go in, please don't go in behind. Don't go in behind. Mary, will you come over there small in front, yeah? Yeah, you're fine. That's great, just get everybody there now. Alright folks, if you just look at me now then. Thank you, another one. Smile please. Mary Murphy, would you put the I mean stand out, yeah, that's it. Thanks Mary very much.
Yeah, I'll stand out.
Well done all you. Declan mentioned a moment ago that we represented from Crail here this morning, and it is still the morning, I think, just about there. I want to say how pleased and honoured we are to have you with us here today, and that the Crail Coordinating Committee are going to meet in our building today is a fantastic opportunity and time for you all. We also want to announce today that next year we have won the possibility of hosting, well not the possibility, we've won it now, to host the Crail Féile next year at the end of May here in Youghal. That will involve about 120 or so delegates coming to our town, coming to our region. And we really see it as a tremendous opportunity, not just to celebrate Community Radio Youghal's 35 years existence, as Nola was up here earlier, began those pirate days in 1979, but also it'll be an opportunity to showcase our town and our region to 20 or so other community radio representatives across the country. And I know that Mary, Alan and Liam will all be going back, not just to, envy our new studios and building, but they'll be going back to say what a wonderful time they had in Youghal, how friendly the people are, and hopefully after the Féile next year at the end of May, 20 other or so stations will be going back and broadcasting. And to me, that's the kind of publicity, that's the kind of thing we want to see, and Community Radio Youghal wants to be part of that catalyst of seeing our town rising again out of the shadows of the economic depression and so on it's in. We've got a beautiful town, a beautiful area, and we want to promote that as best we can. So those of you who are here from Cork County Council, CCAD, East Cork Tourism, the Chamber of Commerce, whoever else, the word is we'll be tapping on your door again looking for funding and help in order to make that Féile the best Féile that the Crail has had in many years. There's one other person in this room today that I personally want to thank too, and he's involved in Crail. but he's been a real friend to CRY over the last number of years. He's given us very helpful advice, free of charge. He's given us encouragement, he's given us support. He parked his car in the International College's driveway a moment ago. We nearly had to publicly announce his registration. But Jimmer, thank you so much for all the help you've given us over the last number of years. I want to publicly acknowledge that today. Thank you. Sammy Revens is today the present mayor of Youghal. But over the past year, the previous mayor was Councillor Michelle Hennessy. One of the poignant moments I had with Michelle over this past year was when Michelle came to our Christmas party. She told me that she had a very busy day, as in her role as mayor she'd done a lot of engagements that particular day. She'd gone home, she got into her pyjamas, and she was ready to spend the evening with her family, having not seen them all day. She then remembered that CRY's Christmas party was on in the Walter Raleigh Hotel, and Michelle came down and joined and supported us that evening. She's been... Hold on. She actually bought her own drink as well, for the record. What I want to say though too, Michelle has come to an awful lot of our launches of programming, particularly our Sound and Vision initiatives over the last year. She not only came to our Christmas party, she didn't come in her PJs either, she came fully clothed. She's come down to many events and things that we've done over the year in her year as it was as mayor. She came to our launch of our autism fundraising walk a couple of weeks ago as well. And so as a small token of our appreciation, Michelle, we would just like to pass on to you a little bouquet of flowers just to say how much we appreciated all your help over the last year as mayor of Youghal. Thank you, Michelle.
I'm absolutely shocked and I'm delighted with the presentation, and I just want to wish Declan, the team, the whole lot of it, the very best in the future and the very best of success in Youghal Radio. I can't believe that it's 35 years ago since the radio came in here in Youghal. I can remember I was only a young child. I can't believe it's 35 years ago. And I remember my mum and my dad used to say, turn on the wireless. It wasn't the radio, turn on the wireless. And that's 35 years ago. But I'd like congratulations to everybody in putting this building. What a transformation this building has come to today. So thanks ever so much. Thank you.
Now, I explained to our present mayor, and those who don't know, he owned the butcher shop, that because it was Michelle who helped us bring home the bacon, that she's getting the presentation today and not him. But last of all, I suppose it's a great honour today, and it's been a great honour for our town over the last year to have Barbara Murray as the mayor of the county of Cork. And Barbara, we want to thank you for coming today, for all the hard work, phone calls and effort you've made on our behalf over this past year and further back as well. And today, I suppose, as a token to mark your year in office as the mayor of the county of Cork, and to thank you for all your help and hard work, we'd like to present you with a special gift today on our behalf. Thank you.
Thanks, folks.
This is our new begging bowl, Mary. Barbara.
Again, I suppose I've said it all already, and I just like that. Again, I'm blown away, and it's very special. I know there's probably going to be a little bit of a downer today, and tomorrow is going to be a little bit, maybe slightly emotional like that. It has been a great year. I'll still be there to work for Community Radio Youghal and for the community of Youghal. It's what I'm all about. So thank you again.
Thank you, Barbara. Well, folks, that brings our proceedings to an end. Can I thank you all again very much for coming. Refreshments will be served in what's going to be our main office in the future. If you haven't had a chance to look around the facilities yet, anybody here who's from the staff or volunteers, we'd love to give you a guided tour. Thank you all very much for coming. Have a great day. Slán agus bana.